You can pick 'em out of any crowd. They dress the part, wear it proud. Sometimes you can even smell 'em. They've got dirt and mud and other crap clinging to their boots and hats, and dogs riding in the truck with 'em. They're always stacking hay, changing tires, fixing things with baling wire, overhauling overused tack. And every single thing on the place is dead broke, broken. Everything they own's for sale for cash. Horse people, they're just a little different than most people. Bow-legged boots, stomping stall muckers, tired and tuckered, going broke, trying to feed a bunch of four-legged buckers. Horse people, God bless them, they're addicted like a junkie to a needle. And I've discovered that most of them like horses more than they like people. There's nothing in their fridge to eat. It's full of bute and banamine and penicillin, ivermectin. They live on Burger King and Taco Bell. The dash is loaded down with bills from farriers and veterinarians. And they can tell you every pedigree of every single steed they ever bought, so trained to trade it. Oh, and none of them are full of bull or slightly egotistical or overly opinionated. Yeah, right. Horse people, they're just a little different than most people. Bow-legged boots, stomping stall muckers, tired and tuckered, going broke, trying to feed a bunch of four-legged buckers. Horse people, God bless them, they're addicted like a junkie to a needle. And I've discovered that most of them like horses more than they like people. They've got Palominos, paints and bass, Soros, Donzerones and grays, stacks of saddles, bits and bridles. They can't pass up an auction barn, a for sale sign, anything that runs on diesel. Horse people, we're just a little different than most people. We trade a kidney for a load of good alfalfa. Yeah, we're all about to go broke, trying to feed a bunch of four-legged buckers. Horse people, God help us, we're addicted like a junkie to a needle. And I've discovered that most of us like horses more than we like people.
Well, hello, fans, and welcome back to Harnessing Your Wealth. I'm Billy Petersen, your host. We have a couple of guests today. One is the old standby, the old bag, ball and chain, Sean.
Here I am.
Who we have again.
So I don't know how you got me back.
Take it or leave it. That's kind of typical. But we have a special guest today, Chris Petersen, and we want to welcome him. I'm going to give you a bit of a background on Chris. He's actually a pretty famous guy, probably one of the more famous people we've had on our show. And the weird thing about that is he grew up right in Morgan, Utah, right where us rednecks and farm boys grew up. So it's a town of, those who don't know, it's a town of about 5,000 people. I think there were 92 people in my graduating high school class. We still don't have a stoplight, you know, so it's farm country, it's cattle country. And here you got the three amigos sitting here today. But Chris has actually made a name for himself in the country music world. And he actually released a song that was pretty famous here a few years ago. And I'm going to let him elaborate a little bit more on that. He was also featured on, what was it, America's Got Talent. America's Got Talent. Yeah. My God, we've got, you know, that going on. So he's going to tell us how that experience went and kind of the life that he's cut out for himself. He's doing a lot of different things. He's involved in some real estate stuff. He has cattle. He's living the cowboy life, which is, you know, for a lot of us, that's a dream. That's a dream. but he's going to tell us all about that. So welcome, Chris. Thank
you. Yeah, the crazy thing to me is I grew up in Morgan, but actually in Milton. So
Milton.
I think all of us did.
You know, we're right there along that same route. You know, there's a 3 or 4 mile stretch there of farms.
Calling it Milton, I mean, that really narrows it down.
Now, let me preface this, Sean.
I was going to get into it.
I want to preface this for all of our audience, those of you listening. So Sean and Chris, I'm sitting in the middle because I want to keep them at arm's distance. They went to college together, all right? Now, Chris, I'm going to ask you, please don't sink Sean's whole career today because I know you got a lot of stories on him. And probably Sean has some, but you know, we all know, those of us who have been around Sean and his downtime, we know the kind of, you know, legend he really is. So
everyone acts like I get into all this debauchery. I think I was a normal college student at the time, but yeah, Chris and I were roommates at Campus Corner, and our apartment, like usually they're all in a line, right? Well, ours was above the laundromat, so we had the whole thing to ourselves.
The whole laundromat?
Above the laundromat. So we didn't have neighbors or anything, and it was really nice because it was kind of like our own little spot. Didn't have to worry about stuff.
Sounds like a lot of nasty and wild things could go on there. You know?
Nothing too bad.
It was a good time.
That was a really good time. But I mean, Chris, I remember, you know, you always had your guitar in our apartment strumming around. What the hell happened? You really strummed the right chords, man.
The funny thing is, back then I was too scared to even sing in front of anybody.
You were shy. Yeah, I remember.
And it took a lot to get over that.
Yeah,
it's kind of a interesting story of how I went from not being able to open my mouth in front of anybody to being able to sing on stage.
Tell us about it. How did that happen?
I grew up very introverted, and I still am. You know, I'm an introvert. I don't talk a whole lot, but I always had music kind of in my blood. My dad was a singer, but I think that's part of the reason I didn't sing is because that was my dad's thing, and just wasn't me, right? My dad was like the life of the party and talking all the time, and I was the opposite. And so I was just terrified to sing because I don't sing like him. He's got a very unique voice, different voice. So I grew up thinking I couldn't sing, but I loved music. I loved writing songs and coming up with lines. Since I was a little kid, I always had little lines in my head, and I'd write them down just thinking maybe someday I'll do something with this. And I ended up moving down to southern Utah, and I had some friends that we were messing around one night, just started singing, and after they heard me sing, they were like, "You need to do this." And so they pushed me to really dive into it. So I did, and then I ended up writing a bunch of songs, and I recorded an album. I didn't know what I was doing. It was my first album, and it's just whatever. I wrote these songs for me, so I'm going to record them. And I had a family friend that was friends with Colin Ray. I don't know if you heard of Colin Ray.
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
So he was picking Colin Ray up from the airport to actually do a concert in Morgan.
Wow.
And as they're coming
I
back.
remember this.
As they're coming back, he's like, "Hey, you need to listen to this." And so he put in my CD, and Colin Ray, on the way to Morgan, was like, "Can we get this kid to open for me?" And so they called me.
Wow.
I'd never sang in front of anybody besides a couple of my friends, you know.
Did your heart rate spike immediately?
Yeah, around a bonfire. So I got asked, and of course, I couldn't turn it down because within me, it was something that I wanted. I didn't know how to get it. I didn't know how to overcome this fear of singing in front of people, but I knew I couldn't say no. Mm-hmm. So I said yes, and ended up doing it. Really hard crowd to sing in front of your hometown for the first time ever. You know,
that might be hard because you know probably a lot of people. Yeah. I'd rather not know anybody.
Exactly.
And so
it's no big deal when you don't know anybody. But when you know everybody there that you grew up with them
all your former girlfriends are staring at you.
Yeah. So
how did it go?
It was good. I was scared to death, but I started playing, and the song just came out, and it turned out good. And everybody after that was like, "Hey, where have you been hiding this?" And I met with Colin Ray after, and he started talking to me and just said, "You know, you can do this. You've got a talent for it. You can write, you can sing. You've got a great voice." And he just gave me a lot of encouragement. And so from there, it kind of flipped a switch in me like, okay, I am scared to death, but I'm going to figure out how to do this. And so I went back home, and there was a little place in town that had open mic nights once a week. And so I went every week for a year, and I didn't miss. I went every week for a year, and I forced myself to sing in front of whoever was there. And a lot of times it was, three people, three drunks at the bar that didn't care who was singing. But I got over it. It really helped to just go up there and, if I mess up, nobody cares.
So it was just you and your guitar?
Yeah. That's how it started. And then after that year, I ended up just starting to get connected with band people, band members, and I built my first band, ended up getting my first show, and then it's just built and built from there. But yeah, it kind of started there where I hit this point where, okay, this is what I want to do. I don't know how to get there, and I'm scared to death, but I'm going to do it. And so I took one step, which was force myself to sing in front of people and overcome this fear of singing in front of people. And then that's where it started.
Wow. Music to me is like it's a different language. It's like learning a whole new language. So who taught you that language?
I think a lot of it came, like I said, from my dad was a singer growing up. And so I grew up listening to music every day. So
you could play, or you taught yourself to play as a young age, or did you take
some
lessons?
So I took piano lessons when I was a kid. And that did help form kind of a musical background and just the general knowledge of music. I always wanted to play the guitar, but I never had like formal lessons back then. It was just something I wanted to do. And so I'd mess around. But then when I started getting serious about really pursuing music, then I started taking lessons and really grinding into it more. But I think the music in general came from just being around it all the time. Just my dad always singing and
just immersed in it.
Yeah.
Besides your dad, who's a big influence on you, music artist wise?
So my number one influence artist wise is Trent Willman. You may not know who he is, but he is my producer, and he's also Cody Johnson's producer. If you know who Cody Johnson is, so. And the way I met him was kind of a crazy story. My wife, I met she wasn't my wife at the time, but my girlfriend at the time, McKensie, we were having a conversation one time, and she asked me, she says, what's your goal in music? What do you want to do? And I kind of told her, if I could just work with Trent Willman and have him be my producer, that would be amazing. That would be everything. And within 2 days, she was talking to him, and he had agreed to meet with us. So that was pretty life-changing.
So do you believe in things like manifesting your dreams?
I mean, definitely. It's if you don't have something in your mind, if you don't set a goal, if there's not something you're working toward, well, how are you ever going to get there?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We're constantly talking about that. Just the power of the unconscious mind. Mm-hmm. So the law of attraction, things like that. And if you have a dream, I'm always telling my kids this, then plant it in your mind, continue to reinforce that, and watch the universe just open doors. It's quite amazing.
It's pretty wild. Yeah. I mean, to me, that was like if you're a basketball player saying, well, I want to be coached by Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
But it felt that far in the distance, like there's no way this could ever happen. I mean, this is Cody Johnson's producer. There's no way. And all it took was me saying it out loud to her, and she's like, well, let's make this happen. And that's one thing about my wife is man, if I tell her I want to do something, she's going to find a way to make it happen.
She's a doer.
Yeah. And it's been a huge blessing. But yeah, within 2 days, she was talking to him. He agreed to meet with us. So we flew out to Nashville, went to his house, and I didn't know what to expect going out there. I mean, I wanted to work with him in some way. My ultimate goal was to have him produce me. But as soon as we got there, we started talking, and we really hit it off, and started writing music that day. So
Really?
we wrote our first, I think we wrote 2 songs that first day that we met, and just, it was life-changing.
So is he just saying, hey, throw some ideas down on paper and then let's kind of fine-tune it, and what do you have?
So how we go into that, when I co-write with him, usually I'll have, I mean, I'm always writing down lines and ideas. And so I come to him with a general idea of, okay, this is what I want the song to be. This is probably the title. This is maybe my hook. And I have a general map of where the song would go. And then we both just sit down and start spitting out ideas, right? And some of them are good. Some of them are like, let's keep looking. And man, within, usually it's only a 2-3 hour process, and we've got a song finished. But it's just it's crazy how when you come together with this purpose, okay, we're going to finish a song, you start with a few pieces, but then by the end of it, it's a song.
Once you get something put together, I mean, how did you kind of blow up? How did you start promoting yourself? What channels did you go through? What worked? What didn't?
Social media. So, luckily I kind of started early on social media because I was working as a photographer, videographer.
That's right.
Graphic designer. So back then that was my world is images, and Instagram started with images. And then I was filming a TV show at the time, and I was the cameraman. So I had this background in video, and Instagram started moving toward video, and Facebook as well. And so it was like perfect timing, and it just worked well. I've always had a love for the cowboy lifestyle. That's all I ever wanted. Growing up, those were the guys I gravitated towards. I found all the old cowboys around me and tried to spend time with them, learn from them. And so that was ingrained in me. And I just always moved toward that. And so I got into photography and videography, and I started out in the hunting industry, but my heart was always in the cowboy world.
Yeah.
I would go take pictures I'd go help out on friends' ranches anytime I could, and take my camera with me and just pull it out. And so I started posting stuff, and at one point in time I started selling prints, and it just morphed into this page of, and I call it Diehard Cowboy, but it started out because I had a company called Diehard Creative. We did photography, videography, web design, things like that. It was Diehard Creative. Well, my passion was the cowboy stuff. So I created a branch of the company called Diehard Cowboy and built my page based on that. And so when the music came in, it was a no-brainer just to integrate it into...
You kind of had your base following from all the videos and photography, and then you're like, hey, I'm doing music now.
Yep.
And people just
you had
loved
your
it.
following, right? So how many people were following you on, I guess, Instagram is your big channel or your big platform?
Yeah, my biggest is Instagram. Facebook's decent. But early on it was, I didn't have that many, but once I really dove into the Western lifestyle, it's funny because back then nobody was doing it. I felt like I was the only one that was doing Western cowboy content. Now it's everywhere. Yeah, it's everywhere now. But I started out early, and because of that, I got a lot of momentum early on and was able to integrate the music into it, and that really helped. I think that's a big part of it. Was
there a moment that, or a post or something that you felt like this is it? This is making me somebody different?
I had one that I posted. I posted, and it was actually a photo of me,
shirtless on the beach.
Not that one. Not that one.
Oh, sorry. That was college.
That was college. That one had some impact, but it wasn't life changing. I had gone out for several years to help on I have some friends that own it's called Sombrero Ranches, and they move 400 to 700 head of horses every spring off the winter range, and I'd go help them. And I was out there, and somebody took a picture of me, and I posted that picture, and Instagram ended up sharing that picture.
Oh,
And that was pretty early on. And it was, at the time, I think I got like 1,000 new followers. And I was like, wow, this is insane.
What was so neat about that picture?
Was
it the comment? Was it?
No, it was, so the photographer was on the ground kind of laying in a ditch, and we were running full speed, running a herd of horses past, and I jumped the ditch right in front of the photographer, and then the herd of horses is behind me. And so the picture, you can just see me, and then under the horse, you can see this whole herd of horses.
Oh,
wow.
And so it was a really,
just a cool photo.
really cool action shot. There's mud flying all over the place, and just really one of those attention-grabbing images.
You didn't know at the time, but it really made it.
And back when Instagram was still photos.
Yeah.
And so that was, it wasn't the thing that made it. It was, what made it was just being consistent. I posted for years and years and years, and just daily posting. Yeah.
What was your big message to people? What was your theme?
I think my theme was just, I love the cowboy lifestyle, the Western lifestyle, what it teaches, the kind of person that it teaches you to be. And so I think that was it. I was just, and I feel like I was before, Yellowstone didn't exist. That hadn't happened yet. So I was able to build this platform. And then when that happened, it was, just added on to it.
Sure. Got real popular then, didn't it?
Yeah.
Well, you've made a hell of a career out of all these things. It's kind of a culmination of a bunch of things. If you had to choose one thing to do with the rest of your life, what would it be?
Oh, boy. So the most important thing for me is enjoying life, spending time with my family. And that's what I focus on the most, right? And I think this Western lifestyle, raising cows, raising horses, for me really is, in my mind, it's the best way to raise kids. And I can teach them to work, and I can spend time with them. So, if I had to give everything else up, I'd probably keep that and just be able to spend time with my family. And that's what I think I would do.
Nice. Why didn't we get the Western lifestyle? I got the mink farm lifestyle.
Well, I chose right. See, I was like, do I want to be a mink farmer or do I want to go into the horses? Because
I don't feel like I had a choice.
The family always had horses, and it was race horses, but I fortunately was the right size. So,
is that a fat joke?
Take it how you want. But hey, I took a lot of abuse for being the smallest kid in this class, and I still do to this day from people.
Not us.
Hey, little guy. Hey, shrimp.
Yeah, but then once it started paying off for you in your life, you're kind of probably grateful for that.
Well, when you're dealt lemons, you make lemonade.
Yeah.
Sure.
So I did the best I could with what I had to work with.
Yeah.
But just going back to the stories for you, it's really neat for me. Anytime I hear a story, success story, especially for someone who came from a small town and just had maybe humble beginnings, but had a vision or a goal or a dream and made that dream a reality, And so tell us where you want to take this. What does Chris Petersen's life look like in 5 to 10 years?
That's a tough one, but
ideally, where do you want your career to go?
As far as music, I just want to be able to share the lifestyle and the things that I love with as many people as possible. My favorite shows are rodeo shows because those are my favorite people. They're always down to earth, fun, just ready to have a good time, and they have the same base values that I do. And so
are you talking like 8 seconds in Cowboy way? Because that is right where my mind just went.
I guess so. I don't know.
That's the only thing Sean knows about Cowboys.
I don't know. Just so small towns, like I'll give you an example. One of my favorite concerts that I do is in St. Anthony, Idaho.
Mm-hmm.
Tiny town. The whole town shows up for a concert, and it's during their fair. They've had me back every year. And it's just, I don't know. It's like you show up in your family.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a Morgan back in the old days community where
everyone knows everyone.
Yeah. And you're just going back to see your friends. And
it's cool.
So I guess there probably was a point in time where I was like, yeah, I want to be famous and famous singer. And I think now I love the music. I love sharing the music, and I love the people. So if I can hold on to that, sing the shows I want to sing, and still keep my family life, that for me that's what I want, right? I want to be financially comfortable, be able to play shows when I want to play, and spend time with my family.
You got your head on your shoulders. I mean, a lot of people get hooked on that feeling of success and want more and more and more of it, and they sacrifice the rest of their life and their family for it.
Yeah, I think maybe for me one of the blessings in disguise that I've seen in my life is I got a really late start on my family, right? So by the time I just had my first baby in July, but I feel like at this point I'm old enough to realize time goes so fast.
Yeah.
And I mean, I look 13 years ago was like 5 minutes ago, right? And so now it's like, okay, well, I've got a baby girl now, and I want to spend all the time I can because it goes so fast. I'm going to close my eyes and she's going to be 18, and and it's all gone. So that's for me anymore. It's not about necessarily the biggest stage, but it's about the quality time and the lives you affect and the time you spend with the most important people.
Perfect. I mean, that's just saying it right there. What about when you were actually going hard and you're on America's Got Talent, though? I think people would want to know, what is that experience like? It was probably different. Wasn't that in 2020?
Yeah, it was very, very different than the typical. In some ways, it felt like you're shortchanged almost, but in other ways, it was, I don't know, it was just a crazy experience. So how it happened, I posted this random video on YouTube I was singing a song, and my dog loves this certain Chris Ledoux song. Don't ask me why.
Who doesn't love Chris Ledoux?
But I'd be singing it driving down the road in my truck, and my dog would just start howling. And I'm like, what the? And my wife recorded it one time, and so we posted it on YouTube, and it went pretty crazy. And they ended up calling me from AGT and said, hey, we want you on the show. So I agreed to do it. We had arrangements to go to LA to film, and it was like 2 days before we left. Well, 2 days before we were supposed to leave, they called us and said, hey, change of plans.
Can't happen.
You got to stay home, but we're going to do it all virtual. So it was a big wrench that they threw in. But I figured out how to set my laptop in the truck, and we did our thing. Simon Cowell's there on the other end, and everybody, It was pretty funny. I had a good time with it. It was a blast.
Neat experience.
Yeah.
It's too bad that all had to happen. And a lot of people have even worse stories to tell about how they kind of got screwed in the COVID era just because of the goofy policies that were passed down.
Yeah.
Both of my older kids lost their entire college experience. Both had college scholarships to play sports. One with baseball and one with softball, and it was just over. Like they spent their whole childhood working toward that, and then got it yanked out from under them. So, don't want to dwell on the past, but I understand what you're saying. I know a lot of people do.
There's one thing I'd like to say on that is it did suck, and a lot of us had terrible experiences. But I was blessed with my wife. She thinks out of the box, right? And so that time for us actually was pretty awesome because she would think out of the box. So approaching summer, everything got shut down.
Right.
And we had the whole summer booked out for concerts. And I mean, started getting closer and everybody started canceling. But she started thinking out of the box and basically like, okay, what are the obstacles that we have and how can we get around those?
So we were able to basically salvage almost all of the shows that canceled. She was able to talk to him and say, okay, how can we get around this? What are your obstacles? And the obstacles were, okay, well, the health department's saying we can't do this. Okay, well, why? And how do we get around it? And so with a lot of them, we found a way to do it, whether it was, I played one in Rangeley, Colorado, and we painted squares on the grass. We had to do them outdoors.
Really?
So we painted squares on the grass and say, okay, your family, your party has to stay within this square. But by doing that, we were able to go around the rules, and make it happen. We did that with almost every single show we had. And because we were still doing shows, we ended up having a huge number of other organizations and groups reach out to us. And we were busy during 2020 that summer because we were the only ones that were out
the
doing
demand, and you were the one supplying it.
All of the big artists that were signed by a label, they were done. They were not. They were not playing at all, and we were going 120 miles an hour because we could think outside the box. And the thing that I loved about it is you'd show up in this town, and you remember the feeling at that point was just there was so much negative feeling, and people were just wanted to get out, and they wanted to feel connection again and feel purpose in life. And we'd go out and do a concert, and there it was again, right? You have a community event. People are feeling that again. And music brings people together like nothing else. And so that was actually it was a tough time, but it could have been
a game changer for you.
It was a really good time for us too, because we were able to go outside the box and say, okay, how can we make it work even though we have all these obstacles?
It's a great lesson in not quitting or just laying down when an obstacle is thrown your way. I think that can be a life lesson in pretty much anything you're going to do, is just figuring it out, because everyone's going to face challenges, and it's what you do with them. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Don't quit.
Yeah, I mean, we have problems every day. I mean, I don't think there's any of us that ever have a day that's like,
I'm
everything
problem free, Chris. I don't know if I've told you since college, but I don't really worry about anything.
Sean, I don't think you've had a problem in years.
Yeah, I've got a crutch in Billy's office. I got a bummed ankle right now. Who knows what else?
We're not going to go there, Sean.
Yeah, we don't have enough time.
Positive mindset. Believe.
Looking at it from the outside, people are going to be like,
what are you doing?
What are you doing? You spend all your time and all your money on horses. And so outside people probably don't understand. So I wanted to write a song about that of people that it is kind of an addiction.
Yeah. Oh, big time.
That song's going to resonate with a lot of our listeners.
I love that song.
Yeah.
I'm going to download that song. That's me right there. I mean, I can't. Sometimes I have to just stop and ask myself, what in the hell are you doing? Look at this. This is insane. But then I tell my kids, look, I'm not going to leave all this to you, so I'm going to try to spend it. And this is a quick way to, they once told me that there's a real quick way to become a millionaire. All right? Get into the horse business and start with $1 billion.
Yeah.
I know that joke's been told 1,000 times, but it's true, because to try to make money in the horse business is extremely rare. That's like that's something that most people can.
But here's the thing, Billy. We know when you've got a good horse because you're walking around the office just beaming and happy. So
I'm like,
you're getting some joy out of it.
Yeah. look at the stuff I've got hanging up in here, Sean. Pretty soon this whole room's gonna be filled.
Cannot wait.
Let's talk about manifesting those things.
We can do that.
The Holy Grail. We're gonna do it.
Hey, there's value in it if that's what you love.
Yeah. We got to do what we love.
Well, we're running out of time, so I guess we're going to miss the college stories, Chris, but
no worries.
I mean, some that come to mind, the nunnery. You remember the nunnery? So we went to Utah State, so everyone knows. All you Aggies are going to know what the nunnery is. The Howl. Remember the Howl?
I do. Do
you remember the pirate party?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, you do.
Now we're getting.
Chris was a good boy, though. He was probably taking care of me way more than I ever had to take care of him.
Right now, Chris is just itching to get into this and share the stories.
Well, he'll have to come back for a
Sean
different
the
one.
Legend. I heard you have a monument up there. Probably.
I mean, there's a monument. It's the bull, and I'm going to say I rode the bull at Utah State, the Aggie, and I'm not going to say much more than that, but I rode that bull.
Is it a real bull?
No, it's a monument right there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm a true Aggie.
Drunk?
Too. Could have been. I don't know.
Oh my God. Okay. We're getting into the deep water now, but anyway, we appreciate the time Chris spent today. How do people get a hold of you and where do they find you? What's your record label or tell us more about it?
Easiest way to find me is probably on Instagram, Facebook, at Diehard Cowboy _. Yeah, I would say that's the easiest way.
You post all your music and everything there? And
yeah, when we release a new song, we usually do a campaign. We'll start posting about it.
Spotify too, right? All the streaming
Spotify,
services.
Pandora,
looked
YouTube.
You up there.
Yep.
That's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know I was going to college with someone famous.
Man, that's the most famous person that came out of your dorm by a long shot. So anyway,
well, I mean,
we're grateful. But
I don't know about that. The legend, Sean.
Yeah. In his own mind.
That's what I was thinking.
Thanks for joining us today, Chris. We appreciate you.
No problem.
Everyone, thanks for joining us as well. And we hope you come back next time. Until then, hang tight.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening. For more information about today's show, please check out the show notes. Visit our website at www.petersenws.com or give us a call at 801-475-4002. Petersen Wealth Services is a registered investment advisor. This is a paid-for advertisement. Information presented on this program is believed to be factual and up-to-date, but we do not guarantee its accuracy, and it should not be regarded as a complete analysis of the subjects discussed. Discussions and answers to questions do not involve the rendering of a personalized investment advice, but are limited to the dissemination of general information. A professional advisor should be consulted before implementing any of the options presented. Petersen Wealth Services.